Hello, it's me. I was wondering. I'm kidding. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Purpose Practitioners Club podcast. I am your host, Mpumi Bonane, and I am so excited to have you here. I know when you read the title of this episode, you were just like, should I even listen? It's better to not know than to know. But listen, if anything, you will walk out of this podcast episode so empowered, so armed and feeling confident for your purpose journey. So I want you to relax. We're going to have an honest, a strong, and a very necessary conversation. So don't move the dial, okay? Please say that when our televisions actually work out. Don't click on anything else. Please stay tuned. Continue staying tuned. Today, as this podcast episode goes live, it is the 8th of March, 2021. And on the 8th of March, every year, we celebrate International Women's Day. And so, to all the strong, ambitious, beautiful, powerful, but also the women who get tired and ashamed and embarrassed and you never want to talk about, I'll say to you, Happy International Women's Day. The theme for this year is Choose to Challenge. And women and men all across the world are making vows, are making pledges. And today, I'm going to be no different. I say, count me in. I choose to challenge the notion that women's potential has got a we have been fighting for years for corporates to take women seriously and to show that by eradicating the gender pay gap. Although for some reason, there's a value that is placed on women and their contribution to corporate that is considered less or inferior to that which men contribute. And today I want to challenge this notion 100%. As well as this, I want to challenge the notion that women are more effective in the background than they are taking charge in the front line. Have you heard of women? Have you heard women speak? Have you seen women in action? Have you seen women put their minds to something and accomplish exactly what they set their minds to? If you haven't, it's because you haven't given yourself the chance. But if you have, then you know that it's not good for anybody or for any institution to have women to the back and prevent them from an opportunity of leading in the front and changing things as we know them. How I challenge these notions is that I choose to operate in my purpose because in this lane, in this capacity, there's no competition, but also there's no limit to what is possible for me if I put my heart and my mind to it. My purpose, my potential. There's absolutely nothing that anyone can do to put the cap on what I do, but also to help other women around me help actively play a role in leading other women to establish professions in line with their purpose so that in this space they experience the most joy because we all find joy in doing what we love, but also they can add immense value and create an impact in this world that nothing else will allow them to. But you know what else? In this place of operating a profession from your purpose, they get to experience the kind of money that corporates say they are not worthy of. So, count me in. I choose to challenge that women are not good enough because we are. And if you give us a chance, we will show you. But if you won't give us a chance, we will create our own tables and you'll have no choice but to join. And unlike you, we are going to treat you with the dignity and respect that you deserve. So the least you can do for us is to give us the same dignity and the same respect. Not because you're doing us a favor, but because we deserve it, because we have a voice that needs to be heard, and because we can do for this world what no other species can. Not because of competition, but because we are equal in value, but different in what we contribute to this world. So don't rob yourself the experience of what we can contribute because the less you have of us, the less vision you have, the less, I don't want to say emotion as if it's a bad thing, but the less EQ you have. So you see, you've absolutely got nothing to lose from adding us to the conversation, adding us to the table, and really treating us with the respect that we need or that we deserve. So, count me in. What are you going to challenge this International Women's Day? How was that for an intro? I know, I know. Before we get to this week's episode, I would like to read a review from Gobisa Sekiso. And she says, content I signed up for with the heart emoji. She says, I've literally listened to all the podcasts and all of them have been so relevant to my life. I just love how relatable Mpumi's content is. I've learned so much. So, Bisa, thank you so much, sis. I love that my content is relatable. That's the aim, really, to give people what they want, but also in a way that will be palatable to them and in a way that they will understand and gain from. Again, I ask if you've got a review for the podcast, please, please, please. If you listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, please write us a review and give us a 5-star rating. And if you watch this on YouTube, I will ask that you leave a comment below. I will screen grab it, so screenshot it, and I will read it to everybody as a review. These reviews are highly important. I cannot emphasize how necessary and how warming they are. I am a words of affirmation girl, and so when I get to read what contribution I play in your life and how I make your life better, it gives me momentum, it gives me steam, and it also just makes me really happy. So please, please, please send in a review, rate the podcast, but also don't forget to share. There's a share button here on YouTube. There's a share button on whatever podcast streaming service that you use. Share it, let's spread the word, and let's make sure that more young professionals are empowered to start their purpose journey and excel in it unapologetically. Okay, let's get into this week's episode. Made observations since running Purpose to Perfection from April 2020 that when my clients get in, when I have a new cohort of people that go through the program, these are some of the things they experience. Overwhelmed. It feels like, oh my goodness, this purpose is so big. There's absolutely no way that a small person like me can get to it. You know what happens? As they start to do the work, increased work demands. Now they are needed more at work, so much is demanded from them that it takes away from the time that they have to fully immerse themselves and be engaged in the content of the program. You know what else happens? They're attacked from their families. One particular lady that I worked with lost a gran in the first cohort, a cousin in the second cohort, and her mom got stricken by stroke. And you're just like, really? But these things happen more often than not. And they might sound like these are not catastrophic events, Bumi. You are really just no, they happen to anybody anytime. I'm talking about experiences that have happened to my clients that have forced them to have to either pause the program or it just forced their attentions away from what we're doing to focus on those things. I don't want to say they are distractions, but they really have hampered the progress and growth of some of my clients. Other things that I've noticed is people suddenly start having mental health complications. I've had clients who've had to put a stop to the program because their mental health got compromised. They got diagnosed with depression, they had to go to psychiatric wards, and it's been a mess. One of the clients actually started getting demon possessed. You know, it sounds scary, right? But yeah, these things happen. People suddenly getting ill, not being able to account for the things they say and how they behave because it is so out of character for them. But these things happen as soon as they say, I want to walk this purpose journey and I want to do what God has called me to do. And the thing that happened is there are malfunctions. I can speak to this. There was a time, a very critical week in my life last year, where almost everything stopped working. My computer stopped working. The garage where I parked my car stopped working. Literally, things were breaking down. Things were falling apart, and I was so frustrated. But I had to understand that in that moment was a mission I was supposed to accomplish, and the devil would do any and everything to frustrate me from doing that. But here's another one that some people see but aren't really confident to talk about. If you look at me, I'm on YouTube now. I've actually got hair growing out of my face. Now, here's the thing. I am going through hair treatment because I was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition. Now, when I started the treatment, I started getting like severe side effects, really, really bad side effects. When I took this to my doctor, he was very surprised that I was experiencing all these things because other clients that he has don't necessarily have them to the degree and severity that I was having them. But the one starking side effect was the growth of hair on my face. And when he looked at me and the severity, he was shocked. He said he'd never seen anything like this. We had discussed options. But for me, whose face makes me money, literally, I have to come on here and share videos and share content. I am a coach for crying out loud. People who pay me have to see my face. I release content on a weekly basis for somebody whose face has to be there for their message to come out. This was a real knock on my confidence. People kept saying to me, "You're so brave. How are you able to do this?" And I wasn't thinking about it like that. But the truth of the matter is that this is a brave thing to do. I have to admit, it's been very difficult for me to pick up a camera and to say anything out there because my face is my face. I love my face and growing hair on very odd places in my on my face has really, really, really done something to my confidence. I mean, I don't like walking outside because people turn with me. They stare and they do this to each other to be like, hey, hey, can you see that? It's a mess. Other people pass me and then they realize what's happening. They're like, oh, snap, let's go back to see. And they come back only to turn to have a good look at me. It is the most uncomfortable thing. At gym, people are staring literally everywhere. I get questions like, what's happening to your face? It's the worst thing. But I understand that it's an attack on the work that I do to set me up, to get me to not appear on camera, to get me to not do the work that I need to do. Because these side effects are the worst that my doctor has seen. This excessive growth of hair on my face is the worst he's seen. And for somebody who's got perspective, I understood that this is not random. This is exactly by design and not by God's design. So there will come a time where I can remove all of this hair in my face. But while I have it, I want this to be proof and testament to you that you don't let attack stand in your way. When God has confirmed something to you, you don't allow anything that the devil brings to you to stop you from doing that work. Not a shred of hair on my face will stop me from declaring the message of purpose to the world. My mission is clear. I will teach, I will speak, I will evangelize, I will do everything that I need to do. I will coach, okay? I will hop on the camera and speak because nothing will deter me from doing what I have to do because my message is very urgent, it's very hot. Nothing is better than that a man should find joy in the work that they do because that is their heritage. The devil tried to steal my joy. I really enjoy coming on here doing the work that I do. I enjoy coaching. I enjoy the work that I do, and he's tried to strip off the joy by making an element of my message or an element of the work that I do be so unbearable that I hide in the corner and don't step up to do the work that I do. Sorry, ain't gonna happen. And as I said earlier, none of these things are random. When they strike, when these things strike my clients, the first thought is for them to give up on the purpose discovery journey altogether. And I'm not going to have that. I've literally sat and thought, how best can I prepare my clients for this journey? But you'll hear later how I could never, in my capacity, prepare anybody for what is about to happen to them. So listen up. It's also on this, right? How I wish I can inform my clients of what might lie ahead, because also some clients don't experience all of this. They go through the program, it, like breathe. They breathe through the program and everything works out perfectly for them. They don't get any sort of these challenges. But let me tell you something. Had the doctor told me that I was going to experience all these side effects from taking the treatment, guess what? I would have never. If he told me that my body was going to change, I was going to look almost disfigured, I'm gonna swell everywhere where it mattered. If he told me I was going to experience severe headaches, if he told me that I was gonna have insomnia once or here and there, if he told me I was going to grow hair on my body, but so much hair on my face, if he told me that my moods were going to go up and down, if he told me that it was going to mess with my psyche, I would not have done it. But I'm glad he didn't tell me, because while there are these side effects, the medicine is working. It's doing what it's meant to. So I would have not gone on this journey to try and eradicate side effects and miss out on the opportunity for hair growth and hair recovery, because I'm afraid of the side effects. At times you just have to weigh the pros and the cons. What matters to me? That these things don't malfunction and I still stay in the job that I hate. I still stay not knowing what my purpose is. I don't I don't apply myself in actually establishing a profession for it. You have to weigh the pros and the cons. What matters most to you? But you know what? I recently got reminded of such a beautiful passage of scripture. And when I went to God with it, He broke it down for me so beautifully. And I want to do that for you. James 1, verse 2 to 5. Listen to this. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials. Listen to this. It says when, not if, because it is an inevitability. You will fall into various trials, but count it all joy. Listen to these definitions of joy. Joy is emotion evoked by well being, success, or good fortune. This for me sounded strange. Count it all joy when you fall into various trials. Trials are problems, trials are difficulties. And here it says an emotion that is evoked by well being, success, or good fortune. Could it be that these various trials are actually a sign of well being? This may sound strange, but I've heard a pastor say struggle is a sign of life. Dead things don't struggle, but if you're still struggling, it means there's life in you. So, emotion that is evoked by well being, success, or good fortune. This means that you cannot get to good fortune, you cannot get to success if you don't go through, if you don't go through some trials, through these various trials. So when we think of trials that happen to us, we need to think of the good fortune on the other side, of the success on the other side. And we need to be reminded that it means we are experiencing well-being. We are living, because struggle is a sign of life. And listen to this other definition. Joy is a fruit of the Spirit. This is not a definition, but a fact. It is a fruit of the Spirit. So when you have joy, you are basically undergoing a work of the Spirit. And I love this because fruit come from an indwelling. You can never have fruit if you didn't plant. So when you start to experience fruits of the Spirit, it means there's an indwelling of the Spirit in you. So here experience, allow yourself to experience the emotion that is evoked by well-being, by success, and good fortune. When you go through these various trials, think about all of that. And then verse 3 says, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. Not guessing, not thinking, knowing, being sure of the fact that the testing of your faith produces patience. So when you go through these various trials, it is a testing of your faith. Now, what is faith? I wanted to read it in I wanted to read it in a version that I love so much, the clear word. It says, oh my goodness, now let me pause here and go get the definition, because it's very, very important that we read it the way it's written in that version of the Bible. Give me for that. So, yes, in this version it says to have faith means to be confident of the things we hope for and to be certain of things we can't see. Do you hear that? Confident of the things we hope for, certain of things we can't see. The confidence that I know that I can experience joy. I know that I can create an impact. I know that I can live sustainably in what God has called me to. I don't see it yet, but I hope for it. And I'm certain that if I go on the journey, I will come to that place. I will realize what I believe I am worthy of and what I believe God has put me on this earth for. So it is being confident of it while all these things are happening around me, that hope. I'm certain of what I don't see it, but because I trust in the one that has called me to it, I can continue. on the journey, but here's one that knocked me out. It says, verse 2, faith is not in our ability to hold on to God, but in his ability to hold on to us. Can I read that again? Faith is not in our ability to hold on to God, but in his ability to hold on. I don't know, man. I don't know. When I read that, I was just like, actually, we believe that hope is our faith is our contribution. And all this while, it is God's contribution. It is Him holding on to us when nothing around us gives us the ability or the strength to actually hold on. So when you talk about confidence, I don't want you to throw away hope, because in throwing away hope, you are throwing away your confidence. Okay? Certainty. When you feel overwhelmed, what is this that I wrote here? When you feel overwhelmed, we're going to read about what to do when you feel overwhelmed in verse 5. But I want you to know that when you feel overwhelmed, there is a solution. So don't give up that certainty. And we're holding on is concerned. When we don't apply faith in the situations that we go through. I mean, if my clients are just like, I want to do this, if I decided, oh no, this is too much, I don't want to do this work anymore, I'm giving up hope, I'm actually robbing God of an exhibition. I'm robbing God of an opportunity to do what He does best. And this is Him being able to keep us from falling, Him being able to hold on to us and to not let us go. When I say I don't want to do this, I'm robbing God of what He does best. But I'm also robbing myself of an experience of knowing God on a new level. When we let go, when we don't exercise faith, we are robbing ourselves of an opportunity to experience God on a whole new level. Listen to me, I've seen God come through for me time and again. When I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I am tired of this work. And He says, no, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Wait on me. And He provides people, money, opportunities, strength, because there are days that I'm just like, I just want to sleep all day. And He says, sleep. Then what happens to Kahiso who needs help? What happens to Pumzile who needs your help? What happens to Didinte? What happens to Upolina? What happens to Salma if you just want to sleep and not do the work? What happens to Iputeng? What happens to Ubuke? What happens to all the other people you haven't even yet met through your brand if you want to give up? Are you going to rob me of an opportunity to show up in your life, to show up and to show up? Are you going to rob yourself of an opportunity to experience me on a different level? Don't do it. And I'm saying to you, don't do it. It is definitely not worth it. And then we come to this part that says, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. I was like, Lord, I don't need no patience. Just give me all the things that I need, and let's get it over and done with. Be patient, okay? We are going to draw a couple of lessons, maybe two or three lessons from the life of David and Jesus. Because from their stories, we actually learned that patience was very, very, very important. Because the truth is, the time of the revelation, the anointing, and the execution are not always the same. God can confirm something so He can reveal something to you. He can anoint you for the work that you need to do. But the time that you actually have to start and do the work may not be the same. And guess what you need in all these three stages? Patience. Patience. David was chosen as a king when he was really, really young, tending to sheep. He was anointed for the work, but he only stepped into the kingship role later on in his life. Maybe not later on, but it didn't happen immediately. Jesus, or his mom, was working as a carpenter. He taught when he was 12, but when his mom was like, "Hey, it's time for you to do this," he's like, "Nah, sis, my time hasn't yet come." He started his ministry at 30. What was patience? There are times when God confirms things to us and He anoints us for the work, but the time for go doesn't happen immediately. I got the blueprints in April of 2018. And I only registered the company in November 2019. I took in the first cohort April 2020. What was happening in the time? Yes, I was learning. Yes, I was hearing from God, but I needed patience because if I didn't have patience, I would have probably ruined things. Actually, there were times where I tried to, oh, I want to start working, yeah, ha, ha, ha. And I started half-assing people, and God was not impressed with that. But what I needed in the time is patience and letting you're going to read because says, but let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. If we don't allow ourselves to experience patience or to let patience have its way, we rob ourselves of an experience to be made perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Here's the other thing: purpose is lifelong work. Your purpose on this earth doesn't change. How it manifests may change, but the purpose itself doesn't change. It is a lifelong work, your life's work. So if you can barely survive the discovery phase, you might never get you might never get to be read about, like we may never get to read about how you change the world and or the things you accomplished through the life. Your legacy may never be established if you fail or if you barely survive the discovery phase. Given the fact that this purpose work is your life's work, you need the patience to actually carry it out your entire life long. I just read now verse 4 that says, but let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Here we understand that what patience does for us is that it develops our character. Patience gives us perspective. Patience really helps solidify our relationship with God, and it makes sure that we have everything we need for the journey. I told you, April 2018 to April 2020, I was getting prepared. My perspective was getting changed. God was speaking to me. I was growing closer to Him. I was learning and I was doing all the work that I need to do to ensure that when the work starts, I am ready. Let patience have its perfect work in you. When these things happen, when these various trials happen, don't let go. Don't let go. Don't let go. Hold on to the faith because that faith is what allows God to hold on to us. And let patience have its perfect work that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. And I never really realized that this verse that I'm going to read now is in the context of of these preceding verses. It says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. All of us want to be wise, but none of us want the experiences that lead to wisdom. Everybody wants to be wise. Everybody wants to be counted among the wise. But some of us don't want the experience that lead us to this wisdom. And we can't have that. Because what is wisdom? Wisdom is practical discernment. Wisdom is knowing what wise decision making is in difficult circumstances. So if you don't face difficult circumstances, how are you going to know how to make wise decisions? If you don't get into situations that require you to step up, how are you going to be able to practically discern what needs to happen? So we need to let these things have their way with us so that we may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. So the whole truth is that these various trials are actually a blessing because they solidify our faith, they produce patience, which is actually resilience. They get us on a journey of being perfected. They put us in a process of completion. They grant us wisdom. They develop our character and they strengthen our relationship with God. So if I were to prepare my clients for, oh my goodness, this is what will happen, and cause them to fear and not do the work, then I would be preventing them from having this entire experience. So while I'm warning you that various trials come upon those who make a decision to do what God has called them to do, I want you to know that part of that experience is a solidifying of your faith. It is a producing of patience and resilience in you. It is a journey of you being made perfect and complete so that you lack nothing. It is a process of completion for you. It is a process to grant you wisdom. It is a place where your character gets developed. Your relationship with God gets strengthened. That is what you stand to gain. All of this and the fact that you actually get to know what your purpose is. You can align that purpose to a profession, and you are able to know how to thrive and excel in that. Experience joy, create an impact in this world, live and leave a legacy, and experience sustenance and wealth like you've never experienced it before. The devil wants you to run back into the comfort of your discomfort because it's comfortable to earn a salary. It's comfortable to know that you won't go hungry in the end of the month, but it's so uncomfortable knowing that you are not where you're supposed to be. The devil wants you stuck. The devil doesn't want you doing what God has called you to do because he doesn't want all these things for you. He doesn't want you to have faith. He wants your relationship to be with God to be weak. He doesn't want you to lack nothing. He wants you to always have to doubt God and feel like God is not coming through. He doesn't want you to be perfect. He doesn't want you to be complete. He doesn't want you to be wise. He wants you to stay stuck in the same place all over again because you don't have practical discernment, because you don't know how to make wise decisions. He doesn't want you to prosper. So he will throw these things your way. It's like you duck and you're just like, oh, actually, for me, give me my money. I'm signing out. I don't want to do this. Or you pay, you continue to pay, but you don't even do the work because you're just like, oh, all these things. He wants you to be distracted. He wants you to give up. He wants you to not even start. Okay? He wants you to stay stuck. He wants you to stay miserable. He wants you to stay in a place you hate because your relationship with God is messed up, because your emotional health takes a toll, because your physical health takes a toll. The devil is only here to kill, steal, and destroy. If he can kill you physically, he will do that. If he can steal your joy, he will do that. If he can destroy what you know God has called you on this earth to do, he will do that. But God doesn't want that for you. He absolutely doesn't want that for you. I want to take you to First Samuel chapter 19. I want to wrap this up shortly. First Samuel chapter 19, we learn, we see Saul was so adamant at killing David because David was now becoming a very fierce warrior. People were starting to love him. It was confirmed to Saul that he was not going to continue to be king and his lineage was not going to continue to be king. And David was the one who was confirmed to be that king. So he wanted to kill him. And in chapter 19, we actually learned that when he was sharing his plans with his son, Jonathan, his son defended him. He spoke up for him and he's like, what did David do to you that he deserves to be killed? What did he do? And we know that David was married to one of Saul's daughters, Michal. And when Michal also learns that David was going to be hunted down, the people were going to come into the house to take him. He told David to run away. He hid him rather, so he helped him escape. And when he ran away, he went to Samuel, who was a prophet in that time, and that prophet Samuel hid him. But not only that, when Saul decided, I will go myself and go find this guy, the Spirit of God fell on Saul. And instead of rage and anger that was leading him to this manhunt, he started prophesying and being led by the Spirit. Meaning that there's nothing that God will not do to protect you and your purpose. He will use friends, he will use people, he will even use his spirit to make sure that he protects the purpose he has put in you and to protect you from falling and stumbling. The Bible does say, now unto him who is able to keep us from falling and to make us stand in his presence. God will not cause you to stumble. He will not. When you are earnest in doing what he has called you to do, when you are earnest in discovering what that is and you put yourself in a position to do the work, he will never cause you to stumble. I'm getting so emotional, but take it from me, who has had challenges thrown at me many a times, challenges that caused me to give up. And I'm just like, I want to leave this. And God is like, you're not going to do it. Because if you stop, imagine the lives that are going to continue in misery. And this may seem like, oh my God, Lord, these are your people, do this yourself. But He trusts us that much. He wants to partner with us. He wants to work with us. He wants us to experience the joy in working with Him. And so when he allows us to stop the work, he is basically allowing us to not go through the process that I mentioned, and he doesn't want that for us. And when you read Matthew 4, this is the last reference I'm going to make. Matthew 4, verse 1 to 11, we learn about Jesus being tempted. Jesus being tempted in the wilderness just as he was about to do the work that he needs to do, which is hanging on a cross and dying for your sins and mine. And we understand that in those temptations, when the devil came there, he attacked his physical needs, he attacked his emotional needs, he attacked his psychological needs. He was like, turn these stones into bread. But Jesus said, you know what? God has a purpose for me here. And if I use my divine power to turn these stones into bread and to eat, I'm circumventing God's purpose. And I don't want to do that. His focus was God's purpose and not his physical need, which was his hunger. He understood that I don't need to prove my sonship to you if you are the Son of God. Turn these stones into bread. I don't have to prove my identity to you. I'm already a child of God. And then the devil is like, who do you think you ought to be doing this work? I've been anointed for this work. There are times he's like, you, Bumi. Are you sure? And the overwhelm my clients feel with me, such a little girl. Listen, you don't need to prove that you're a child of God to the devil. You don't even need to prove it to you. Believe it and step into God's purpose for you. He attacked his emotional need. He's like, I dare you to jump off this pinnacle. God will save you. This was targeting his emotional need of security. And Jesus was like, you know what? I trust God's plan. I trust God's plan, and that will be my focus, not what you're trying to tell me now, like the pride, the insecurity, and the need to test God. I don't need to test God to know that his plan is good. I don't need to be like, yeah, I'll do this and see if he'll come through. I don't need to test it. I don't need to be insecure. I trust his plan. I trust that he will save me, but I don't need to put myself in positions where I'm now testing him and I don't need to do all of that. And he tested his psychological need with, oh, worship me. I'll give you all of these things. You know, he was testing his significance and power and achievement. So if you want to achieve great things, worship me. And Jesus was like, you I trust God's person. I don't need to worship you, devil, and I don't even need to be panicked because I trust the person of God. I trust him. And so when the devil comes with all these temptations and all these ridiculous claims and he wants to really get us down, we need to trust God's purpose. We need to trust God's plan and we need to trust God's person. He knows what he's doing. And if we just allow for ourselves to be aligned with him and to let patience have its good work, to allow him to hold on to us, we will experience him on a level like no other. And I want to close this podcast episode by saying, I understand that the journey gets difficult. It gets lonely, it gets hard, it gets confusing, and you need some strengthening because we're not all the time strong. And that's why I am starting a prayer circle. Every Friday, I already pray for you. I wake up on Friday morning at 5 a.m. and I pray for everybody who listens to the podcast, for every one of my clients, for people on my mailing list, for people who interact with my content on social media. I pray for those who are yet to be my clients. I pray for you. And while a client of mine reminded me of all the things that were happening to her, and I remembered what happens with my other clients, God put it on my heart to start this prayer circle. So I won't just be praying for you anymore. I will be praying with you. Every Friday at 5 a.m., we are going to pray together. I want you to give me 15 minutes of your time. We are going to start off with music, worship, and praise. And then we're going to spend the next 5 minutes just sharing devotion. I'll share with you what God is saying to me. I love to teach from the Bible. And then we'll spend the rest of the 5 minutes praying. You can send in your prayer requests. We will pray over your situation. We will pray over you. We will pray over your life. And I'm going to send out invites every Thursday evening to the people who join the prayer circle. So that if you have a prayer request, you can send it, you can reply to that email that I'll send you, and we will register it for the prayer section of the following Friday. I am Team 5 a.m. Club, if that's what they call them. I wake up at 5 every day and I get a good start to my day. So Friday at 5 a.m., we're going to pray. And when you start that your day like that, man, there's nothing you can't accomplish. There's absolutely nothing you can't accomplish. In the show notes, in the description below, I'm going to leave a link for you to sign up. You'll just leave your name and your email address and sign up so that you can get the invitations when they come. But you know what else I want to do for you? I want to give you a prayer guide, a 7-day prayer guide. These are 7 prayers for 7 particular days of the week. So Sunday to Saturday, it's prayers for every area of your life, for every person in your life, and literally for everything in your life. Over 7 days, you will cover your whole life. All the aspects of your life will be covered by this. So that's what you get for joining the prayer circle, I guess. I'm thinking about whether I should make it that you get the prayer guides on the specific day. So if it's a prayer for Monday, you get it on Monday. If it's for Friday, you get it on Friday, irrespective of when you signed up. I'm thinking about that, or to just give it to you once. But whatever it is, it's a brilliant prayer guide that I want to give to you. Plus, I'll be opening up enrollment to the program Purpose to Perfection very soon, at the end of March actually. But you'll get all the details about that soon. For now, this is a very important thing, that you are centered, that you have all the support that you need, that you've got the strength that you need for this journey. I love you guys. And I want you to know that I will do whatever God instructs and enables me to do to serve you and the purpose that He has placed you on this earth for. There's nothing that God tells me to do that I won't do for you. Because if I don't do it, my life will count for nothing. It will mean nothing. I want you to count for something. So I'll see you next week. But for those who are going to be joining the prayer circle, I'll see you very, very soon. I love you.